Hi, welcome back everyone. Thanks for joining me again for another reading today. If you like to share, subscribe, it'd be wonderful. Please check that below. And you can also follow me now on Facebook and Instagram. Give that a bit of time, it's a bit new. But in the meantime, please go and like that. I'd really appreciate that. Thanks so much. So I was guided to do a reading today on a card of reflection, which is just a singular card and it just popped into my head today, and this is the card I wanted to do. So let's try that one out and see how you like. Maybe it resonates with you or not. If it does, great. If it doesn't, leave and discard the rest. Okay, thanks so much. Right, let's get started. So we are going to talk about the Hermit, which is a major arcana card in the traditional Rider-Waite deck, and its placement is number 9. Okay, with the Roman numerals over there. So let's have a look at that card. So I was going to talk about this today, so I hope this is going to resonate with you. And this card is a card of introspection. It's talking about someone, or perhaps when someone also specifically, when one is going through a transformation. A lot of changes. Many of us are going through lots of changes at the moment. And many of us are feeling that we are shifting and moving in different directions. Perhaps some of us are feeling as well that we need to change jobs, or we need to shift focus in a particular direction. And that this is a very crucial time, or time in one's life where you are really pushed and forced into that transition. Perhaps you're going through a paradigm shift, also spiritually, a form of enlightenment that one is experiencing, or an awakening, if you will. If you're not a spiritual person, that's fine. You might be just making a change in your career, and also just finding that your life is really taking on a really different direction, or just perhaps taking a different role, or perhaps your way of thinking has changed completely. You become wiser, so to speak. So also this is talking about the Hermit being a wise old man. You can see the grey beard as well. He's thinking about it, had a lot of reflection, thinking about where he's going, what he's doing, or rather he's had that process already of where he's been going to, but rather he's found the way, this little star that you have there, which is the six-pointed star, the Star of David. And if you think about it in esoterically as well, you've got the triangles, two different inverted triangles away from each other, one being male and one being female. So that polarity, or rather the coming together, the melding of the male, the divine masculine, the divine feminine within oneself, that masculinity, that femininity that we have, which you often find we're trying to find a balance between the two. So this is also essentially talking about finding that balance within oneself. One has come of age, one has arrived, so to speak, where you have come to a point in your life that you know now, this is it. I finally know where I'm going to. What is it I'm supposed to be doing? I have come to a eureka moment in my life that I need to follow something specific, and that I finally have some guidance. So it's very interesting on that point, because we have the Roman numerals, which is essentially the 1 and the 10 together, which gives you the 9, which is quite interesting, because if you look at it in normal numbers from 1 to 10, you'll think of the 1 and the 10, and you deduct that one from the other, and you have 9. So when we think about that, the 1 also is talking about new beginnings, karmic new beginnings as well, possibly. So if you perhaps have created karma in one's life as well, or you've created situations, negative, positive, you know what situations you've created, whatever, it's now coming full circle to you, and so you have a new beginning, which is bringing you that you are now moving on your path, which also alludes to the Fool, which is also essentially 0, taking risks in new beginnings as well. So the 1 talks about that aspect where you are now at the beginning, feeling perhaps a little bit lost, feeling a bit isolated, feeling that I don't know where I'm going to, what am I going to be doing? Going through a dark night of the soul, so to speak. You're going through all these different emotions and expressions and things that you've been experiencing, or don't know how to deal with them. And so you're starting that journey now. That seeking and questing of wanting to find and questioning oneself. What am I doing here? Why am I going? Why is this happening to me? We all have those sorts of questions within ourselves to some degree or extent or the other. Okay, so that is the beginning of that. Or you might be finding yourself at the end of this cycle, which is that 10. And that's going to be the completion. I've arrived, I've now come, I've now grown wiser. I'm reaching a point of awakening and enlightenment of where I want to be going. Everything is unfolding for me in this way. So also this 9 talks about that, which is very interesting because you've got that between the 1 and the 10. And that whole process, numerologically, that you're going through from the beginning to the end process. That 9 is that process, that one we are experiencing, that we're always going from these little small cycles of 1 to 10, 1 to 10 in our lives, whether they be smaller ones or even bigger and bigger and bigger ones in our lives that we experience all the time. Constantly going through these little challenges and victories that we're sort of going through constantly. Little dark nights of the soul that we experience all the time. So that 9 is talking to you and telling us about being of service to others. 9 is also seen as numerologically as the friendly number in the zodiac. If you have a number 9 house, for example, that you live in, you'll find that your house is very busy. People are always wanting to come and be in your home, and you always have people coming to visit you and things like that. Or your job might be like that as well. The building might be a 9. You find it's a very busy place, and so it's always inviting. So the 9 is talking about being of service to others as well. Being in that sort of developing ourselves and finding ourselves in that way. So when we look about the placement also of this card, in terms of astrologically, we're looking at Virgo placement with the planetary placement of Mercury. So Mercury also being a planet of communication, Virgo being a very analytical, studious, focused, perfectionism, looking for perhaps a little bit introverted as well, very critical, analytical, all those sort of kinds of a process that one would go through if you're looking at that Virgo aspect. So if you're looking about that as well, that is what you're talking about in terms of communication. How do I communicate? How do I communicate with myself? How do I communicate with others? How do I analyze situations or things like that? The processes that I find in my mind, mentally as well. All those processes that I find and how I bring them across to the world. And so you're going through that process of where one is trying to find oneself and trying to put oneself in one perspective. Always looking at those situations. You might be dealing with somebody or you might be like that yourself, perhaps a little bit introverted as well, looking at things, trusting the gut instinct, the gut feeling, which is what this is talking about. We talk about that Star of David, which also talks about wisdom. So that 6th point starts talking about enlightenment, awakening. In our minds, perhaps you're not a spiritual person once again, but perhaps you're mentally, you have these ideas or things coming into your mind, it just pops into your head, or you get a wonderful idea, or you're getting that gut instinct to do something and to follow a hunch, so to speak, as well. So this is what this is talking about as well, to trust oneself, to come to that point of being able to focus and be centered in oneself without being disturbed by anything around you that is going on in all the chaos that is perhaps being unfolding around one all the time, but to be centered and focused within oneself. That staff is also talking about it as well, where you think about biblically with Moses smashing down his staff and parting the sea for everyone to go through, right? That is what he's essentially doing for oneself as well. He's talking about having that magical power. We talk about the magician, which also comes up with this here too. Being a magician, being able to harness all one's faculties and harness them and use them in a way that you've now come to mastery. Self-mastery of being able to utilize all the things that you've learned and gathered within oneself or within one's life or process or situation where you are and pinnacle where you've reached to right now. And using them to your best of your ability, knowing your weaknesses, knowing your strengths, and building and working on those simultaneously. Always finding that balance and that sort of being able to balance those all the time. Now, you might also be looking perhaps a person also who might have been out of relationship at this point, someone who is alone or who's rather thinking to divorce themselves from everything else. You might have isolated yourself from people. You're reevaluating relationships with people, whether that be romantic, whether that be friendly relationships as well. You're reevaluating all those situations with people that you've been experiencing and now discarding what doesn't serve you. And of course, holding on to that and then also just reevaluating and seeing what they do for you in your life. So that is also asking you to do those things if you are in a very toxic situation or if you have any toxic habits that one might have, is you also reevaluating or being asked to do that. Does this serve me? Drinking, alcohol, drugs, people, work, all these situations you're being asked now to discard because you are now moving through a big shift, a massive shift in your life. The Major Arcana also talks about specifically when you get a Major Arcana card, it tells you that there's nothing you can do now to change this. You've had the minor arcana, you've gone through the process of dilly and dallying and everything else in between, but now you've reached the point of where you haven't made decisions, or you've been dilly-dallying about making those decisions. Now the decision has been made for you. This is where you're going to right now. This is where you find you. All your actions, everything, and all your mental processes, everything you have done has brought you to this point. And now you have to focus and deal with those things that you are now being put in front of you. Okay. So, if you are going to ask a question and you have something on your mind that you're specifically wanting to ask, and you are considering and you are undecided about what to do, where should I go, what should I do, where should I go, why am I doing this, all those questions we spoke about a little bit earlier, the answer here for you is no. You are on your own. This is you. You're focusing on yourself. The answer here, or the guidance is to focus on oneself and not to worry about everything around you. If you've been a person who has been a people pleaser and always doing things to please others and everything else, this card is asking you to look at yourself. Do what is good for you. Do you have strong boundaries? Do you respect your boundaries? I was just reading something that a friend of mine told me about just the other day, and I was telling someone else about that too, is that be sure to have strong boundaries, because people who take advantage of you don't have any. Let that sink in for a minute. So, it's very important that you be able to then know yourself, know thyself, which is so, so important. Know thyself and where it is what you're doing and what you want to be doing with yourself. Okay, so what else can we tell you? And then, of course, in terms of also your health, I wanted to talk about that too. Virgo, of course, which is what the astrological placement is for this card. Okay, so you might be dealing with someone like that, as I said, also highly intelligent person, someone who might be a little bit introverted, someone who might be quite analytical, someone who is a little bit slow in the coming. Coming around, or so, you're that kind of a person, that's quite okay. If you're looking at your health as well, you might be meeting someone like that possibly as well. You might be going to work. I'm getting that perhaps some of you are going to go to a work or be with someone who's like that, and that possibly things might not be what they seem, that the person is not communicating, or that you need to be a strong communicator, and that perhaps that you are introverted as well, as that you learn to communicate and express yourself in a way that comes across clearly. Your yes is your yes and your no is your no, and to say what you want and to ask for what you want, which is very important. Okay, so looking health-wise as well, the Virgo is rules the body parts of the digestive system, specifically the digestive system, the spleen, and the intestines. Now, if you perhaps are going through any health problems, whatever, one might want to look at those areas. Don't have to be Virgo. You could be possibly having situations like that, possibly needing a detox or a cleanse, which will also help you very much mentally, physically, to do that as well, and to also give you a bit of clarity. So maybe being called to do a bit of cleaning house, so to speak, on all the different faculties, be body, be mind, and just around you and your environment and everything, and soul-wise, and just taking yourself a little higher. So you could do things like, for example, which is very good for those parts of the body, you could do things like ginger, garlic, turmeric, which is wonderful as well, curcumin, which is wonderful for the digestive system and for the stomach and all those goodies over there. And possibly you would want to maybe use some aniseed, which is wonderful for the spleen specifically and the intestines and for the digestive system in general. Okay, licorice root, if you can get a hold of that, you could make yourself just crush it, and also just you put into a little tea and steep that if you wanted to drink that. The same with the ginger, which is wonderful. You could have whole cloves of garlic. If you don't want your breath to smell, you can just slice open the garlic, take out the pith inside, which is a little green thing over there, and you can swallow that whole as well, which is really, really good for your body, great for the stomach as well. Any stomach problems and ailments like that, helps a lot with the intestinal flora inside the stomach over there. And then what else can I tell you about that? Cranberries are wonderful for that too. And what else? And fennel, which is also a really, really great one. So if you wanted to do a nice cleanse for the body, there's stuff called Boulder Sonara and Nephrosol, which can be used together, and you can get that from Bogles, which you can just put you'll see the instructions behind on the box, and you have them used together, which they work perfectly well for wonderful cleansing and clearing out the system as well. So great cleansing, great detox going on for you. If that's what you've been doing, hope this resonates for you. And that's my card reflection of the day. So thanks so much and have a wonderful time. I'll speak to you soon.